All right, let's move forward. Before I get to create any more files, I want to clean up a little bit our area here because we have many files now and it's getting crowded. So let's select two extensions, right click, new group from selection, call this extensions. And we can actually close this folder because we won't need that anytime soon. This model, let's create a new group from this, call this model, our core data file, and close it as well. Persistence, right click, new folder from selection. Let's call this one, I don't know, core data helper, and close it as well. Lone cell view, right click, new group from selection, and we call this views because we are going to add more there. Let's close it for now. Add lone view and add lone view model. I'm going to put them together in a folder, call this add lone view, so that our view model and view are in same folder and it's easier to find. The same thing we will do with our lone view. Let's create a new group from selection and call this loans view. We will add the model to it later as well. All right, let's create a payment view. Command N, SwiftUI file, call this payments view. I think we need a payment view, create, and yeah, let's also put this in its own group, call this payment view, and we can also jump and create a model. Let's create SwiftUI here, call this payment view model. All right, so just delete everything from here, make sure it conforms to observable object, and call this not struct, call it final class. We call it final because we're not going to subclass it anyway. This is our final version of our class. So that's it. That's why we call it final class. All right. Let me also reorganize this a little bit better. So we have our view goes under first our loans, then add loans, and then my payment. So it goes in hierarchy. It's easier for me to find things when I need them. All right, let's go to our canvas, and I don't really know why it wants to jump and be so big. Maybe it's an Xcode 13 bug. All right, it's not very helpful here. Let's maybe this view that bring out will help us some way. Make it smaller. It's too small. Let me just quit my Xcode and start it again, because I don't know why it doesn't want to stay as it is. All right, it looks like it's working. Okay, so we have our view here, and we are going to start building our user interface. Let me just, before I forget, say add state object, and we are going to pass our var view model, not pass, actually we're going to initialize it, payment view model. All right, so when we put things in our view model, we can access that. Okay, let's see what we have here. First of all, it's in navigation view, so we will put our title there. We have a plus button there. And then we have this area, which is our bar. We have a text, we have this nice loading bar, and then we have another text. And then we have our list. So let's start from, basically all together is one V stack, vertical stack, and we have all the things in our vertical stack. So let's start from vertical stack. Say V stack, and then we want to add this first text here, payment progress. So let's do that. Say text, say payment progress. Let's give it a font of, I don't know, sub headline. Then we say foreground color dot secondary, so it's nice and grayish. And also I want to put some padding from top. All right, then we have our progress view. Right now we don't have a progress view created, so let's put just an empty view. So I'm going to create like, I don't know, a rectangle. And what can we give to our rectangle? Let's give it a foreground. Let's give it a frame first of height, I don't know, 30 points. And let's give some foreground color of blue, for example. Resume. Let's see if our is working. Let's also give some, I don't know, corner radius of 10 points. It's nice and round, and maybe some padding would help to bring it a little bit inside so we can see the round. Okay, so imagine this is going to be our loading bar. For now, we are not going to do anything about it. It's just visually to be there. Next, we are going to add this text here. So let's put a text. And what our text will say is depending on our calculation. But for now, let's just say what we have here, expected to finish. All right, and that's it. So we can see our text. Okay, so everything is good. Next thing is our list. Now let's create a list, and it pushes everything up, which is good. Right now we don't see our navigation view because it's not part of navigation controller here in our preview, but once we use navigation link, it's gonna be, and we will see also the title. So for our list, what we want to do in our list is to show all the payments related to this loan. And how we are going to get that is we need to write some kind of function that will go to our core data, grab all the payments with some predicate where the loan is, whatever the loan we have passed here, and give us back all the payments that we have. And then we need to sort them in a smart way so that it separates them per year, etc., etc. So let's keep the list here. All I'm going to do is just add a list style here, and it's gonna be again our plain list style, so it matches our other view that shows our loan. And on my VStack, I want to add the navigation title. And navigation title is going to be dynamic. So depending on what loan we have chosen from, it's going to put the name of the loan here. For now, I'm going to just put, I don't know, loan name, because we don't know how to pass it yet. And also we need this nice plus button. So let's say navigation bar items. Again, leading, we don't need anything. be the back button here anyway. The trailing will be a view here. And the view, we want a button. And our button is going to have a label. And it's gonna be image of system name. It was plus, as I remember, and we also gave it a font of title, so it's nice and big. Let's see if our preview is working. It is working, but remember, we don't have our navigation controller, so it doesn't really show anything here. Let's clean up here, make it nice little bit, because our button is actually making everything very, very ugly. Okay, and this, maybe we can put this up. Right, so here we will have whatever the function is. Let's for now just put some print, I don't know, add payment. Yeah, so we know that our button is actually working. All right, and yeah, that's it for our view. Of course, we will need to put our list properly, but let's try to present this view in order to see if everything is working nicely. So in order to do that, now that we have our payment view, let's go to the loans. So this is where we have our, for each line that represents our loan. Let's go back to our application. So what we want to do is to be able to click this cell and go somewhere. And this is where we are going to use a navigation link, which is going to wrap this thing around. So let's create a navigation link, and navigation link will take a destination and a label, which is some kind of view that is going to be presented. So the label, we are not interested in this part because we already have that. Our label is this nice cell that we have created. So our cell becomes the link itself, the button, if you want to call it that way, to click. And destination, basically where we want to go when we click on this button. And guess where we want to go? We want to see our payment view, please. So we initialize a payment view. So let's run our application. And navigation link, payment view. Let me run it again. Okay, now it's running. I think I didn't run it before, because now you see when we convert it into a link, we have a small arrow here that tells us, you know, something will happen if you click this cell, for example, and let's click it. When we click, we come to our loan view. We have our button. When I click, it says add payment here, which is working. We have our progress payment. We have this dummy bar and expected to finish without value. And there is no payments to show. Anyway, that's why our list doesn't work. Yeah. So what we want to do, a few things. Before we can add any payment, we need to know to which loan to add to these payments. So we need to pass the loan that we have selected, in our case, if we have only one, to our payment view, so that every time we click add payment, we know that payment will link to the loan ID. So how we are going to pass the loan to our payment view is, let's see, we can come here and create, I don't know, var loan of type loan and pass it that way. But since we have our nice model, we're going to use that instead in order to keep our view nice and clean. So let's let's add the variable loan here of type loan. Then our Xcode will say, hey, you don't have an initializer. Before it starts yelling at us, let's create one very fast and say that we will pass a loan here. And once we pass a loan, we would like to set our loan, self.loan, equals to whatever the loan we pass. So our Xcode will be happy and will not give us any errors. So yeah, now the only thing we need to change is the way we initialize our payment view model. Let me just close this canvas to get some extra space here, because now it says I want a loan. And in order to initialize it here, we need to somehow to pass the loan here, which was the initial problem anyway. So we cannot initialize it here. Instead, we can initialize it in our loan view. So I will say that my view model is type of loan, payment view model. And it's not a state object, it's gonna be an observed object. And now you may guess where we are going to initialize this, and we are going to initialize it here. When we tell our navigation link that we want to move to our payment view, it says please initialize a payment model, and we will say please, we are going to initialize one. And give me a loan. Of course, we have the loan here. Here you go, sir, and our loan is ready. Let's run quickly, see no more errors, or there is one. Let's see where it is. Of course, our problem is our view model. It says I want to have a payment model. In order to initialize a payment model, we need to pass a loan. And to do that, I need to create some kind of dummy loan, and I don't really want to do that. Since we don't need our preview anymore, I'm going to get rid of that. Let's run. And yep, everything is working. In order to test it, you can do it here if you want to. We say print loan name, and let's pass the loan name here. Quickly run. There's loan name optional my first loan, which is very nice. It's printing out, so our loan is passed properly. So now is the little bit hard part. Don't be scared, it's not very hard. So what we want to do, we have a loan that was passed here. We want to be able, A, to create payments and link them to that loan, and B, to show our payments here. And finally, C, we need to make it nice and with our bar and with our calculation, etc., which will come later on. So first, let's start from option to show our payments. So I'm going to create a published variable here. And this is going to be called all payments. And it's a type of array of payment objects. And let's initialize it with empty array. So basically what we are going to do is we are going to load our items from our core data, but not in the way we did here, because I want to show you two ways, and this way actually doesn't really work with model MVVM structure, because you cannot put these environmental things in your model, otherwise it won't work. This can be only put in the view itself. So in order to use MVVM with the core data, we are going to do the loading manually. So in our payment view model, we have this variable of all payments, which is empty array. And since it's published, every time we change something in this array, It's our model will say, hey, whoever is listening, all payments were changed to something, whatever you are going to do with it. So who is listening? Our payment view is listening to our model. So we will receive the notification when our payment view model starts shouting that we have some payments. But before we have some payments, we need to get them from core data and put them in the array here. So how we are going to do that? Let's create a function. Say func fetch all payments. Payments, yes, please. And it would be very good if Xcode would understand that we want to payments and would load them everything here, but unfortunately no, we need to tell what we want to do. And how we're going to fetch all payments is we're going to ask the help of our core data helper. Let's go here, and on top of our save function, we are going to, actually let's do it below. Let's write a func fetch payments. And in order to get the payments, we don't want to go and grab all the payments in our core data, because we want to show only the ones that belong to a specific loan. There is no reason to grab all of them. So we want to pass a for loan ID, which is a string. So we want to say, please give us all the payments that have this loan ID. And it will return a payment object, array of payment objects. It's very nice. So what we want to write here is we need to create a request. So let's say let request, let me close the panel to give some extra space. So we say let request is type of NS fetch request. And since we're going to get back payments, we want to tell our Xcode what we are expecting here. And we are going to create a payment.fetch request. And you can see this will return NS fetch request of payment objects, whatever we promised. Right, we have a request. What we need to give to our request? We need to give it a predicate if we want to limit some things. In our case, we want to limit only the payments that belong to our loan ID. And the second thing is sorting. We want to sort our payments somehow because we don't want to get them in any way they come to from core data. So let's say request.predicate is equals. And we're going to create an NS predicate with a format. And the format is loan ID equals, double equals, and percentage at. This thing, this is actually comes from Objective-C times NS predicate. What is percentage at, if you don't know Objective-C or you're not familiar, this is basically a placeholder which will be replaced whatever is come after it. In our case, whatever is comes is loan ID. We cannot just say equals loan ID because we need to pass the variable from here to our predicate. So we put a placeholder here, which Xcode automatically replaces with whatever the variable is next to it. And this loan ID makes sure whatever you call this is actually from our model. So if in the payment your loan ID is all capital or small or camel case, or it's called, I don't know, my friend's ID, whatever is the name here, it should match the text here. Otherwise, it's not going to find any matches and it's not going to return anything. All right, let's get sort descriptors. Pay attention to the S at the end. This is an array of sort descriptors. So we are going to create an array of NS sort descriptor. I may guess it correctly. It is also left over from Objective-C times. And we want to sort with a key path and ascending true or false. The key path, how we want to sort it, we want to get our payment dot date. So we want to sort them by date, ascending, let's say true. All right. And we have created our request. Let's see what's the problem here. Cannot convert value of reference path date. Okay, it was false error. Okay, stop complaining. Anyway, it's a stupid error. What we want to do is to fetch it. So we are going to say view context dot fetch request, and it accepts an NS fetch request. And pay attention, it throws an error. So let's pass our request here. And also we need to put this in try do catch block. And we want to catch an error here. Let's put this up. Get rid of extra spaces, and let's say if there is an error, we are going to return an empty array. Remember, we promised here to return payments array of payments. So if there is an error, we couldn't get anything, let's return empty array. And actually here we are going to say return, and whatever the value we get, we put everything nicely in array and send it back. Command B to build, and we still get the error. Oh, I see my error. It's a key here. It not be key path. Sorry, Mr. Xcode, you were right. Yeah, now it's happy. Okay, so we have created this fetch request, fetch payment function, which takes a loan ID and gives us an array of payments that belong to that loan. So let's use that. Let's go to our payment model, our payment view model. And here we can call actually that function. Remember, the function returns an array of payments. So I can say all payments is equals, this is my all payments, is equals, and whatever the function returns. So let's access our persistent persistence controller shared fetch payments for, and see how cool it is that we have access to our loan here. I can pass my loan and grab the ID in case if it's a nil, because it may be we want to pass a default value of empty string. So this will go fetch all the loans, all the payments that belong to our loan, stick them in the array and give them back to us. It's very, very handy function actually. Let's use it. Otherwise we spend all the time writing it. It was a waste. So let's go to our view. Scroll down. When we want to fetch it, every time I open my view, I want to fetch it. Every time there is a change, I don't know, I deleted something, I want to fetch the fresh result, because there is no automatic fetch like we have without loan. If I delete, it will automatically update my view here. If I add, it will automatically update. No. Every time we do something, we need to like reload the information. So what we are going to do is add on appear to our view here. So let's have our v stack finishes there. So we can put an extra parameter here, call it on appear. And what we want to do on appear, we want to ask our view model, not view model to be so kind to call fetch all payments, please. And now we can use our list. Actually, there is nothing in our core data anyway, but yeah, we can use our list and we can put a for each here and say for each, and we access our model view model dot all payments, and we need to catch the payment in, which is individual payment. And let's say we want to put a text with our payment amount, and we need to use, actually we have our to currency here, a very handy extension that we can use it here as well. So if I run, we can come to our payments area, but we won't see anything because we didn't do any payments. So our next step is adding something to our payments. All right, let's go ahead and add another file. We need to add a SwiftUI file. This is called add payment view. And also I will add another one, SwiftUI file, add payment view model. All right, and we delete everything from inside. Convert struct to final class, and this will be observable object. Hopefully you are already familiar with this stuff. And of course we want to put them in a nice folder to live together ever after. So we call this add payment view, and let's put it after our payments because in our view hierarchy it will come after. All right, first thing first, how this thing will look. Let's go ahead, open our ready application, click on add payment. You can see that we use a navigation controller this time and not a model view in order to add a payment. Here we have a navigation title, of course, an amount. This is a small form actually, which has two sections, amount and the date of the payment, and a button here that can save, which is in separate section, and is can see it's disabled unless I put some kind of amount there. Very simple user interface as with our other things. Remember, I love minimalistic view, and also to be honest, I'm not very good at design. Yeah, so I prefer to use this type of views. Anyway, the point of this course is to teach how to pass data around, because you can get the design ideas from somewhere else and make a beautiful design in SwiftUI, which is actually very easy to do compared to the UI kit. Right, let's design what we need. We need a form, and that's it. We need a form. This is all our design based on a form. And what our form needs is a section. Our section will have one section and section number 2. First section, we have two things, text field, date picker, and the button. So let's do the button first, it's easy. Button, whatever the function is, label is the text. Let's call it save. And let's make it a font of, I don't know, title 2. And we do it font weight semi-bold. All right, we have a button here, which is good. And now we want to have a text field. Remember, with our text field, we need a binding variable to hold whatever we type inside. Let's put the title key, which is going to be amount, and the binding. Let me quickly access my observed my model here. So we say add state object var view model, and we say it's equals to add payment view model, and add not loan payment. My mouth is saying one thing, my hands are typing something else. All right, let's go to our add payment view model. Let's see what we need here. Of course, we need some kind of variable to hold our things from our text field. So add published var amount is an empty string. Add published var date is a date. So this will be our date picker. And we need a loan ID. Yeah, because this is the place we are going to save our loan, our payment. We need a loan ID. So var loan ID is a string. And this will say, what the hell are you doing? We need a initializer. Of course, we need one. We are going to give it. So we say loan ID is a string. And then we say self dot loan ID is equals to the loan ID. Xcode will stop complaining, and also let's go to our payment view, or if you want a shortcut, you can use it here to go between the views. Now, where are we? No, not here. We need the add payment view. Now it complains that you are missing an initializer, sir. And yeah, we are actually missing, and we don't know what the loan ID is. So this will not be a state object. It will be an observed object, and it will be a type of add payment model. Because right now, try again. Now this thing will start complaining. Let's keep it this way so we can finish with our user interface, and then I can go ahead and delete this horrible view provider. Let's move our friend. Where are we? Payment, add payment. Here we are. Let's move these two beautiful variables, copy them, and we're going to put them here. In this we can comment out. Try again. Of course, we need a state here, not published. And we can call this amount. Don't forget the $sign. So this is done. We need another date picker. Let's set the keyboard type to be only number pad, because we don't want any silly text here. And yeah, we need a date picker, Mr. Date Picker, with a title and a selection. Title date, selection binding date, it will be $sign date, and we want a type of our date picker to be date only. Let's preview again, and hopefully it will work. Will it? Please? Yes, it does. Magic word helps. Okay, so we have our user interface. Nice and easy. And now I can delete this thing because we want to move properly and yeah, get rid of these two. Instead, we say view model amount and view model date, right? So now there is no one to complain. We need this is not state, we need observed. And we don't want to initialize this. Okay, Command P, everybody is happy. I am sure they are. So what we have so far, we have a form and we have a button. Let's click print, save, clicked, just to make sure it works. We need a navigation title on our form. Wherever it finishes, we add a navigation title. Is, I don't know, what will be our navigation title? Add item. Let's call it add payment, not add item. And now let's run our application on simulator. We have our nice add payment view, but we don't have any way to show it because when I click this button, it just says add payment. So let's fix this and make our button work properly. So what we want to do in order to show this thing, add payment view, inside our navigation view. Here is our button. It says add payment. We don't want to add payment. We want to change state of something, a boolean, and that something will do magic and will show us our navigation view. So one option would be to actually wrap this pattern around our navigation view, navigation link, sorry. But there is an issue with an Xcode because what we want to do is when we create a payment, we want to also to be able to edit that payment. So let's go to our application here. See, when I click, it takes me to add payment. And when I click on my payment, it again takes me to add payment. But this time, obviously, it changes the title to edit payment and also loads the information about my payment here. So we want to have like a two kind of, this button is linked to that add payment view, and the cells are linked to add payment view. So we need to combine all these two things together to one navigation link that will take us to our add payment view. So how we are going to do this, I found a nice hacky way around, is we are going to create a background task here, not a task, background modifier, and we are going to create our navigation link inside our background. So we will say navigation link, and we're going to create a navigation link. Remember, our navigation link wants to have a destination and something to show it on, basically whatever you click, because we don't want anything to show. We are going to use another initializer here that has also a state that if this link is active or no, and then we can switch this active or not active programmatically. So it's this guy here, a title, destination is active. Is active is our binding pool. Destination is going to be, actually we don't need a title here, we need a destination and is active. So the destination is where do you want to go? Please, we want to go to add payment view. It says in order to initialize add payment view, you need to initialize it with a model, which is add payment view model. All right, let's initialize add payment view model. And we need a loan ID to initialize at payment view model. Okay. So where do we get this loan ID? Let me just put an empty string here for now. And we also need a binding pool here that will switch the state if we want to show or no this link. Apart from this, we need to put a view. So whatever is visual view that this navigation link should have, we don't want to have anything. So we say we want an empty view, please. And also we want to hide this. So it's just like a magic link there, which nobody can see and nobody can, it's hidden. And then when we switch a Boolean value, it will load our payment view. And when we switch it back, it will just disappear. So this is the idea anyway. So for this to work, we need two things. First, we need a binding pool so we can switch this around, which we can do it in our view model. Let's go to our view model and we put a Boolean here. We say, please, a published var and is navigation link active. And by default it's not. Right. And also we need to know which payment we have, which loan we have selected. So we have this loan here. So we want to pass it further down the line. So let's go ahead and come back here. And then we go down. So now we have this binding pool. I will say $, not there, here, $. We access our view model, .say is navigation link active. So whenever we switch this value, it will show and hide our navigation link. Now for the loan ID. As you remember, our view model, just jump to view model again, it has a loan object because we initialize it with 1. So let's use that instead of empty string. So we say view model dot loan dot ID, and if it may be a nil, please don't crash our application, use an empty string. Okay, so far so good. Let's remove empty space and our button. What we want to do when somebody clicks on our button, we want to say our view model, please can you change the navigation link is active to true, because we want to make it true. Let's see if this works. Let me close this, open this, we go to our view and pop, it's working. We can go back, I click again and it's working again. All right, we found a way to get here. Very good. And now we need to create a payment. To create the payment, we will do in our next lecture. So let's move to our add payment view. And here we have a button. It's called save click. Let's actually see if this works. It says save clicked. All right, it's working. Very good. But we want to first of all make it active, inactive, depending on if the amount is present. And second, we don't want to print save clicked. We want to actually save a payment. So go to payment view model. And here under our initializer, we need to add some extra functions. First of all, let's add this valid form thing. So we say func is form valid. Hopefully you already got the idea. This returns a pool, and in our case we have only one thing to check. It's the amount. not 2 like before. So we will say return, not result, return amount is empty. If it's empty, it will say true, and it will block our pattern here, not pattern, the whole section. So we say section disabled, and we access our view model dot is form valid. All right, so let's quickly test this. Let's go ahead, and yeah, this is empty, and now it's not empty. Empty, not empty. Very good. So this is working very good. Get back to our add payment view model, and we need a function to create a new payment for us. So let's say func create payment. Actually, you want a new payment. So create a new payment. What this function needs, we need to initialize a new payment from a payment, which takes a context, which we get from our persistent not person name. Persistent control shared view context. All right, once we have a new payment, what we want to do, first thing first, it needs an ID, which is UUID string. Then we want the amount. So new payment dot amount, and remember our amount is string. We want to double. Let's try to convert it to double from amount, and if it goes wrong, please fall back to 0 as a value. Then we need a new payment date, which is our date, and the most important part, to which loan it belongs to. The loan ID is equals our loan ID. And finally, to make the magic happen, we need to save. So persistent controller shared save, not self, save. So see how handy this function is. We create it once and we can reuse it multiple times. So we have a function to save. We have a way to add our things together. Let's try to save something. This print is no longer necessary. We'll say view model, and we say create a new payment, please. And let's try if this will work. And this is not necessary. Here, add a payment. Let's add 1,000, or it was one. Let's add 100. Save. Okay, maybe it's saved, maybe no. Who knows? Because it doesn't go back. So we go back manually, and $100 is here in our piggy bank. So we have paid it, and hopefully the bank is happier now. All right, we have our list working. Of course, we cannot delete it yet, but there is an issue here. When we add something, let's add $30, we want to dismiss this thing and go back to our loan, so we can see that we just added some money. How we do that? Let's see. In our add payment view, we are going to add another variable here. Call it add environment, and this is gonna be /.presentation mode, and this is var, let's just say mode is type of binding presentation mode. All right, and now we can ask our mode, say self.mode, and we want to get rid of this. Because it's a binding pool, we need a dot wrapped value. We say please dismiss. Let's see if this will work. Oh, it should be forward slash, not backslash. All right, go here, add another $50. Oh, it's working very nice. We are going back. There is one thing missing here, our loan name. We forgot to fix it. So let's go to payment. We have navigation title, loan name. It's not good. We have access to our loan. Why we don't use the name of the loan? So I will say view model dot loan dot name, and if it's nothing there, let's use I don't know, loan. Let's try it one more time. Oh, it's my first loan. Yeah, it's here and it's working. Okay, everything is nice. So what else we need here? We are in our add. Let's go to our add payment view. So our button is working. Our button is disabled when we don't need it. Navigation title, we will change this when we are able to edit items also, and we disable this view. All right, looks everything as it should. Okay, so let's go to our payment view, and we are going to look into an option to be able to delete our, actually no, before we delete, you see how it looks like our cell here. We just pass a data, our amount here, but we would like to change it a little bit to have some more information, how much we paid and also when we paid. So let's quickly go to our view here and create another file called this payment view. Payment cell view actually, so we can do customization to our view. So what we need a text on top, text at the bottom. Very easy task. We have a vstack, and let's use this one and this one again. In order to populate the information, we need two variables. Actually, let, not var, amount is a double, and let date is a date. And here we want to pass our amount, and we want to make it to currency, and the date, we want also our date to be a string long date. Let's give some font to our, this will be title 2, font weight, I need a dot here, font weight semi-bold. And here let's just pass font to be again this one will be subline, subheadline, and foreground color dot secondary. All right, and we want a resume. It says I don't have values. We say okay, we give it, I don't know, 500, and the date to be current date. So with the current information, the preview will tell us what we have. We have everything in the middle. Let's fix that by adding alignment. To be leading, and maybe some spacing. 5 points. Yeah, looks good to me. We go to payments and we don't want to see the text anymore. Instead, we want a payment cell view with amount, which will be our payment we get from here. Payment dot amount, date, payment dot date. Let's see if this looks any better on our minimalistic view. Oh, this is an optional. We want to pass a current date in case if there is no payment date available. All right, let's see what we have here. Okay, this looks much better. We have our amount and when did we pay it. Our next task is to add functionality to delete these rows if we want to. So on our for each, we can put on delete, and it wants us to perform some kind of function. And we can perform, here we will have access to index in. And this is just an index set that basically tells which row wants to be deleted by the user. So what we do when our user wants to delete something, if I run, you will see that now we have access to this sliding thing, which reveals the delete button. But when I click, nothing happens because visually it gets deleted, but then it comes back because our model in core data didn't change. So let's make sure we also delete from core data. So for this, we go to our payment view model. We have this fetch payments, which brings payments, and let's also write a function to delete payments. So say func delete, and what we want to pass here is our index. So we say, I don't know, at index, which is an index set. And we have our all payments. So in order to delete something from core data, you need to get access to that item. So how we get access to that item? We have an array of items and we have an index. So we will say in order to delete, we can access our persistence controller shared dot view context dot delete object. And what you want to delete, it will ask us. We say, can you please take all payments array and get the index dot first from it. And this should go ahead and get this index dot first. I think it's an optional. No. Yes, it is. So we better say guard let index row is equals to index dot first, else return please. We don't want to continue, and here instead we say index row. All right, and no deletion is final unless we save it. So we say persistent controller shared save. Oh, let's go ahead and call this function here. So we say view model dot delete at index, and let's see if this time after deletion it will not come back to us. Go to loan, let's delete the 30, and it's coming back 0. So we are going to fix this issue with returning 0 in our next lecture when we get things done properly, because right now we are just playing around with this because the view here will be completely different. It will have a different object in order to calculate all these things, and also this and our bar, etc. But anyway, we are going to not here, in our view here, we're going to write the code in different ways, so this will be shown differently. So let's go to our payment model actually, and write one function that is going to calculate this this date when we are expected to finish our loan. So we say func calculate days, and let's get an idea how we are going to calculate. First of all, we need to access how much was paid until now. To get this information, we can write a variable here after our init, and let's say func, not variable actually, func total paid, and this is going to return a double because we want to know how much our user has already paid. And we say return, I would say all payments, and we want to use reduce here, which we want to reduce it to 0, and then what we want to do like this, and every object inside, while we are going down, we want to say plus $1 one actually, so other item, and the amount. So basically we take the last amount, add to it the current amount, and we reduce our array count until it's 0. So basically we go through all array and take one amount and add it to other amount until we get a total amount. Another way of writing this, the long way, would be for each payment in all payments. We will need a var, let's say total amount is a type of double, and we promise that we will add it, and then we say total amount plus equals payment dot amount, and once this goes through we say return return total amount. All right, so this is equals to this. You can choose whichever you want. I choose the short one. Okay, so this function will go through our array of items, payments, and give us how much was total. So let's use that amount. I will create a local variable here, call it let total amount equals to total paid, because we are going to use it a few times. I don't want to call the function to calculate it every time, because we don't, the value will not change anyway. So the idea here is to understand how many days the total loan duration is. Let's say it's 1 year, which is 365 or 66 days, or it's 1 month, 30 days or 31 days. Whatever the duration is, 5 years, 10 years, doesn't matter. We want to calculate the loan duration in days. All right, and then we want to calculate how many days have already passed from the start date of when we took the loan. And once we know how many days have passed and how much money we have paid, we can understand roughly if we divide how much we paid each day. And if we continue paying that much each day, how many days we still need if we continue the same way in order to pay the remaining amount of our loan. So this is the idea. So let's say let total days. I know it's a little bit complicated when we speak, but once we write, you will get a better idea. So we access our calendar, get the current calendar. Then we want a date components. And we need to pass the components which we are interested in, days, from, and we need here from loan dot start date, or if it's a nil, we get a current date. And also we need to use to. So how many days have passed from this date to that date? Have passed or will be, how many days are there between the two dates anyway. So we say loan on due date, or again this can be empty, so we put the date, and we want to get back day. All right, so we calculate our total days. Then we want to calculate the past days. And this is very similar to this, but instead, let me copy and paste this. Instead, we don't want the due date, we actually want the current date, whatever the date is now, how many days have passed since we took the loan until today. And this will be how many days have passed. Okay, so we have these two variables. Now, we want to do some checks because we don't want to return any string which will tell like whatever the expected to finish when there is no days have passed. Like we took the loan today, we create a new loan. We don't want to return that we have to, I don't know how many years, because we didn't have even time to pay our loan to calculate when we will finish. So we say if past days is 0, or maybe we haven't paid anything yet. So we don't want to calculate our loan if we haven't paid anything, because otherwise it will be like infinite and it will give us an error. So we say total paid, total amount, sorry. Let's call this total paid. So we say if total paid is equals to 0. So if this is the case, we will say return, but what we want to do in this function is change value of a variable. So let's put it on top and call this published, because every time this change we want to refresh our view. If we put it published, it will be notifying our payment view that some important thing has changed, and please let's redraw our views. So we say expected to finish on, which is a string, and it's equals to empty string. So we will say expected to finish will be empty string in this case if days passed is 0 and total paid is 0. If this is not the case, we want to understand how much we paid each day. So we will see if we continue this way, how many years, days is needed to pay more. So we say let did pay per day is equals, and how we calculate this, we take how much we paid total. So we say total paid and divide how many days have passed. Because days passed is actually an integer and this is a double, we need to convert it to double first. So we say double past days. So this will we will understand how much we paid each day if we divide it to days. And then let's calculate how many days we need in order to finish if we continue this way. So with our current payment speed. So we say let days left to finish equals, and then we will say loan total amount, because how much we should pay, minus the total paid, because we have paid something, you remember, and we divide this to did pay per day. So whatever is left, if we divide it how much we pay per day, how many days there will be, and this is our key answer. So we say let new date is equals, because we get number of days here, we want to know, convert it to date object now. So we say calendar dot current dot date, and we want to create date by adding some days component day to what we want to add it to. We want to add it to our current date, but we want to add to we are missing the value here that we want to add, which is integer, and remember this thing we have here is double. So let's convert it into integer, days left to finish, and so it's converted to from date. So to recap, well, let's see, we are missing a comma here. To recap what we did here, first we get access to our total paid amount. Then we see how many days our duration is of our loan, and we see how many days have passed. Then we check if no days have passed or there were no payments. We cannot calculate how many, when it is expected to finish. Then we check how much we paid each day and how many days we have left to finish our loan. If we divide how much we paid currently with our current steps. Finally, we have this number of days, and we say we want to add this amount of days to our current date and see what our final date will be. So once we have this final date, we can change this expected to finish variable and say that now we want to say expected to finish by, and let's use string interpolation here, new date dot long date, and that's it. Command P. Why you are complaining? New date. Yeah, it should be unwrapped. We can, I don't know, say guard let new date equals new date, else. You see how smart is Xcode 13, I just love it. Else return, and there is no more need to actually unwrap this because it's no longer an optional. Before we return, maybe we want to set this value to be empty as well. All right, total days. What we didn't use this. Yeah, this one we didn't use actually, so we don't really need this part here. All right, let's go ahead and use these calculate days.